Here's the thing though about the like group of five teams, because there's a lot of people who don't like this group of five, the fact that there's two group of fives. One, the ACC screwed up and allowed for an extra group of five. All right. That's not going to happen every single year. Two, they earned their right. And I don't know why the college football media is the only like sports media that absolutely despises the underdogs. They are so mad that there are two group of five teams in. And I don't understand it. In March Madness, we love it, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
and wow,
Actively
we
root
saw
for
how
it.
many teams, how many quote unquote group of fives. They're called mid majors in college basketball. How many of them have made it to Final Four? Some have made it to the national championship. Butler was an inch
Mm,
away from winning the national championship
yes, over
against a
Duke.
blue blood in
Yes.
Duke, right? And
Now I
for some
okay,
reason
so
in football, we can't have it, even though every year there are upsets in the regular season. Maybe it won't happen in the postseason, but it lends itself to, if you beat them in the regular season, you can win the postseason of a group of five team beating a power team. Northern
yeah.
Illinois beat Notre Dame last year. Notre Dame went on to the national championship,
Yeah.
right?
No, so
Like it
Stevie,
can
like
happen.
a couple
And by the way,
things
they're
with that.
also and the thing that pisses me off too is they're like, well, if they get blown out, it's a problem. Did Tennessee, who is one of the biggest brands in college football and the SEC darling, did they do well last year in the first round against Ohio State? Nick, can you remind me of that?
Oh god, wasn't that game like 50-0?
I think it was 42-10. I believe it was something around there. No problem. No problem with that one, right? Indiana got smoked by Notre Dame, right? And everyone threw a fit because they didn't think Indiana deserved it. And then Tennessee gets walloped by Ohio State. And, you know, it's fine. Everything's fine. And now it's group of five. If Oregon beats you by 30, it's a problem. No, it's not.
Even well, so, I mean, that's the thing too. Well, a couple things with that. One, winning a football game is the hardest game to win in all of sports. It is so hard to win a football game because of all the things you have to do and prepare for and execute. Whereas, I mean, as we know, a baseball game, you can get lucky, right? Back when pitchers could
Get a
hit,
hot pitcher.
the pitcher could pitch 9 innings and hit a solo home run, and the rest of your team doesn't do a darn thing, and you win that game 1-0. Like that's theoretically possible in baseball. It's not a thing in football. So this whole thing about this ridiculous that these teams are in because they're not as good. They can beat both these teams. Like the
Tulane
fact that
beat
the
Duke this
fact that I don't care that Tulane got killed by Ole Miss, and I don't care that JMU is untested and they're going into Autzen, right? They both can win. There's a possibility that happens, right? And going back to your point about, the college basketball stuff. One of the biggest criticisms that I've heard about having Tulane and JMU in is the fact that, oh, well, they can't win a national title. Why are they there? You know how many
take out
teams are in
Alabama,
that
take
group?
out Oklahoma,
Exactly. Yeah.
take out Miami, take out A&M,
You know how
Ole
many
Miss too.
teams
Take them
in
out.
in the NCAA basketball bracket can't win that national title?
Uh,
Almost all
67.
of them. Well, no, like almost all of them don't have a shot, realistically, right? But like you said, boy, no one sits there and is upset that St. Peter's is in. St. Peter's, I guarantee you, was like a 20-some point underdog at least to Kentucky. I believe
Yeah.
that's who they beat in the first round and beat them, right?
Hell,
Princeton, same
UMBC beat UVA.
by 20, by 20
Yeah.
points. UMBC
And
beat
then
UVA by 20 points, right? So
Purdue
does
loses.
UMBC, yeah, Purdue to Fairleigh Dickinson? Fairleigh
Yeah.
Dickinson had no shot to win a national title. None. Everyone in
And
the world
Purdue
knows that.
was the favorite.
Yes. Right.
So I
So
and it
so
bothers
so
the
sit there
hell
and say they don't we can't have them because they have no shot to win the title is ignorant and lazy and lacks just, you know, f- lacks a lot of hindsight, right? Lacks a lot of understanding of how human beings work, how
It's the
fallible they are,
yeah.
and how unpredictable especially 20-year-old kids are in an environment that is different from what they're used to. And if you haven't learned that from watching the NCAA tournaments in March and again the first like week in April, then what are you doing? Like your head's under a rock
Yeah.
because that's the same thing. Yes, this year has been very chalk heavy. I read something about how like the least amount of top 25 teams lost basically since the college football playoff came out, right? Like so many of these teams did not lose. And normally there's a whole bunch of chaos and change in the rankings, but for the most part, these have been the same teams that we've seen at the top here. Right? There wasn't like a random Kansas State up here, and then they lost 4 games in a row, and now some random Arizona State shows up. Right? That didn't happen this year. But just because that didn't happen so far doesn't mean it can't happen. And
Correct.
just because you don't like it for whatever reason, because for whatever
I
reason,
don't.
college football is more elitist than anything else, which I don't get because, again, like my initial point, it is so hard to win a football game, right? It doesn't mean that these teams don't deserve to be there, and doesn't mean that you should change the rule. I believe I would rather have a playoff where every conference champ gets in the same way they have in basketball, because technically that means that every single school in the country has a shot to win the national title. Where things stand now, though, they don't.